The Indy Racing League continues to deliver some of the world's closest racing, and today they'll be racing again under lights. We're at the all-concrete oval track they call the Nashville Superspeedway, and qualifying delivered a big surprise. Hello there, welcome as we continue the tremendous story of the 2002 Indy Racing League. The teams have had a 2-week break now, and during that period one of the league's best known drivers, Eliseo Salazar, has been declared fit to race after a layoff of some 4 months, but more on that later. And in recent weeks we've been used to either the Penske team of Helio Castroneves and Gilles de Ferran, or the Panther racing machine of Sam Hornish Jr. dominating the proceedings. And we've also become used to seeing the young British-based South African Thomas Scheckter flatter only to deceive. But today, none of those feature in pole position. That place has been claimed by Billy Boat, driving for the Curb Records team. Now, to discuss this and the race as it unfolds, I'm happy to say I'm joined by two experts on the American motor racing scene, Rob Murphy and Paul Cherry. Now, Rob, the race itself getting underway fairly soon. First of all, something about from you on Billy Boat. A bit of a surprise. Pole man, what do we know about him?
Well, he's a short track oval guy, and he's had 8 or 9 pole positions in his career, but not in the last couple of years. You know, Curb Records are based out of Nashville, so it's great for him to get pole position, but he's a hard-charging driver. He finished second here last year, too, so...
Right.
You know, he's good. I like Billy Boat. I'd like to see him get a good result here. Pole is great.
So on the evidence of the second last year and pole this time, he's got cause for optimism.
Got a good chance, yeah.
And Paul, tell us a bit about the track, because it's concrete, which is something unusual. Is it unique, in fact?
In my experience in America, it is indeed at that level. The track itself has been described as the largest piece of concrete in Tennessee. With 14-degree banking, it's quite impressive facility. It's not going to have the same grip levels as tarmac, but it's going to remain stable. It's not going to have the bumps in it after a couple of years. And it's probably only 2 grooves in the corners.
Would you anticipate we're going to see a particular type of race because it is this concrete surface? Will it affect the racing?
I think there will be less numbers of people trying to overtake right deep into the corners. Let's say we won't see 4 abreast as we did at the last event in Kansas.
Right. And overall, I mean, let's assume it's going to be dry, but if there is some dampness around, how much of a problem is that going to be?
Probably on concrete it'll be easier to dry. It's very humid down there, so I think if it does rain at all, it'll disappear fairly quickly.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on this pole man, Billy Boat? We know the name, but we don't know too much about him.
He has pole position, but it's a long way to go to the end of the race, and I think, as always, the strong teams will come to the front. I think there are more people concentrating on the race strategy and race performance rather than pure qualifying.
Okay, boys, thank you very much indeed. More from the lads a little later, but right now the cars are just about finishing their warm-up laps. We can now go over to join our commentary team in the USA, Larry Rice and Gary Lee. They are at trackside.
That concrete surface, a rather unique color, and you see that blue line that we'll talk about that distinguishes the track from the wall. And there is Sam Hornish, last year's seasonal champion. He'll start in the 3rd position this evening, a 3-time winner this year. Tony Renna, a rookie subbing for Al Unser Jr., will develop that story as the race progresses for Team Kelly. And his teammate also with an onboard camera, there is Scott Sharp. Scott will start in the 11th position. And looking back from Ayrton Dare's number 14, he will start back in 19th position. And by virtue of that win a couple of weeks ago at Kansas, he has jumped into the top 5 in the point standings.
Yes, this is a concrete surface. That means that it's a little bumpier than a lot of the tracks that they run on, just like a concrete on a highway. When you go down it where they pour the different sections, it is bumpy, and so you'll be able to see it, especially from our in-car cameras here tonight. Now, you will also notice that blue line that Gary mentioned just a few minutes ago, coming off of turn number 2 and turn number 4. Because the concrete on the wall is exactly the same color as the concrete on the track, they painted a blue line out there so that you can tell the difference when you're going 200 miles an hour.
Well, as we say, this is the home of country music. One of the big record producers is Curb Records here in Nashville, and Curb Records happens to be the sponsor and co-owner of Billy Boat's number 98. And there is Boat with Curb on the side. He starts from the pole position, first pole for Billy in some 3 years, although this is his 9th career pole position. Stacked up a lot of them. In fact, at one time, 4 in a row when he drove for A.J. Foyt.
Yes, he certainly did. He had a good run with A.J. Foyt, now with his own team, along with the Agajanians.
Mike Curb.
They've got a very good team put together here with an Infinity engine.
Well, the pace car off the track. The field belongs to Billy Boat as they come down to take the green flag. 200 laps, and we are underway here at Nashville as they scramble for position going into turn 1, 3 wide in some cases. This track is only 55 feet wide, but still we saw a couple of grooves there.
Yes,
at least at the start.
Yes, and you're going to see these guys fall back into single file. This racetrack is not as apt to be running side by side as a lot of the racetracks that we see.
Well, Billy Boat on the scramble gets the lead as Castronevitz goes second. Harnish is third, and then it's Thomas Scheckter. So they crossed the start-finish line as they started the race, at least in the top 4 positions. And there's that blue line. Now watch the blue line right there. Yes, distinguishes where the track ends and that concrete wall begins as you're right along with Sam Hornish back in 3rd position. And look at him fight that steering wheel.
Already he's beginning to have a little trouble. He's fighting that thing. This racetrack, this kind of a racetrack, does not have the same kind of grip as an asphalt racetrack. Some guys like it. Most of the guys do not really care for it. The grip is a little different. The good thing about it is it's more consistent. When it gets from a real hot day to a cooler night, the track will not change nearly as much as an asphalt track will.
Well, and also we've had no rain in the area, and the drivers say the more rubber that gets on the racetrack, the better the track surface is, and we've not had the rain to wash the rubber off.
Well, it makes it better for the tire wear too. Last year they had a lot of tire wear at this racetrack because when they first built it, it was so rough they had to come in and grind it. When they ground it, the surface of the cement was so hard on the tires that they actually had to take something out there and smooth it back down a little bit so it didn't chew the tires up.
There's Thomas Scheckter, the rookie from Cape Town, South Africa. Now, Thomas has led 4 races this season and probably could have won any one of the 4. And you think he's really overdue for a win, running back there in 4th position.
Oh, yeah, he's certainly overdue, no question about that. Those first 4 cars have pulled away from the rest of the pack just a little bit, especially the first 3 of Scheckter, though, hanging on with them.
Well, Billy Boat leading for the first time since earlier this season as you ride back there with 3rd place Sam Hornish. Hornish no stranger to leading races. In fact, Hornish has led 361 laps this season. Only Jill DeFerrin has led more at 508. And Thomas Scheckter 3rd on that list at 321. But again, riding along in that 3rd position. It looks like Hornish again rides that high groove. Throughout the season, we have seen Hornish run a higher groove than anybody else.
Well, right now, he's out there just testing that high groove, see if it's going to work for him. And he's got a good run off the corner and beats Castronevitz into turn 3, so he gets that position away. And you can see
he pulls away from him.
Yeah, Castronevitz, when he cut down in front of him and took the air off the front end of Castronevitz's car, and it went up the racetrack. And
here comes Scheckter. Scheckter has a look to the high side, trying for 3rd position.
Last year there were not a lot of cars or a lot of drivers who opted to go to that outside groove. It looks like Sam Hornish already is not afraid to go out there and make that pass on the outside.
Of course, we've talked before about how Sam Hornish is being courted by some NASCAR teams. Whoa, look at that, almost contact between 1st and 2nd. And it's really too early in the race to have somebody stick their nose in like that.
I think that was a huge mistake on his part. I don't think Billy Boat knew he was out there, and I think they actually did touch going into that corner. So he's got to be very sure that Billy Boat knows he's out there if he's going to do that little maneuver. Remember, he crashed already once this year making
that same.
Yeah.
That was at Nazareth when he got into Jacques Lazier. Now, we started to develop the story about Sam Hornish being courted by some NASCAR teams. There's no secret he would like to run the Daytona 500 and the Brickyard 400 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So we're not really sure if he's going to be back next year. He still has a contract with Pennzoil Panther, or will he be driving some Winston Cup races?
What he really wants to do next year is just run 1 or 2 just to see how he gets along in NASCAR. He doesn't really want to sign a contract to do a lot of them, but he's certainly exploring his options at this point. And look at this. Talk about
the inside. He got the nose chopped off.
Boy, he certainly did. And Billy Boat is not going to give up that lead very easily. So he wants to make doggone sure that Billy Boat knows he's there and is going to give him room if he's going to make a move like that, especially this early in the race.
Best ride for Billy Boat, obviously his best qualifying effort of the year. He had 4 straight pole positions and 8 during his tenure with A.J. Foyt, including the pole at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, which is worth about $100,000 from MBNA.
You can see the Hornish fell way back. He fell back 15 car lengths, and already he's caught back up with Boat, so he appears to be the fastest
Watch the
car on
steering
the
wheel, Larry.
racetrack.
Watch him work that wheel. Works to the inside. Billy knows he's there, but there was contact.
Billy pulled right down. I don't think Billy saw him, and he came right down and almost made contact with him.
Wow.
That was a very risky move to be making this early in the race. Billy Boat came down at the last second. He saw him and jerked the car back up the racetrack, or that could have been a disaster for both of those guys.
Well, Boat led the first 12 laps. We're used to seeing donuts on stock cars, but not on Indy cars. So Sam Hornish has taken the lead, dropping Billy Boat back to second. He's only completed 13 circuits. Gary Lee and Larry Rice looking out the back of Sam Hornish's car as he really puts some daylight between his position and that of Billy Boat. There's Boat to the left of your screen. There's Castro Nevitz, and there is Scheckter as the sun continues to set over western Tennessee.
Yeah, you can see that Hornish just pulled away from everybody. Once he got out in the lead, he just pulled away from everybody by well over a second already. So he's really got a good race car. He's really come to life here in the last 3 or 4 races. There he went through a spell. He had a very good beginning. He went through a spell there in the middle of the season, about races 4.
He had that crash in Nazareth.
He had the crash at Nazareth. He didn't have a very good run several different places, but now then the last 2 or 3 he's really come to life.
Watching Sam Hornish as he continues to open that gap between first and second positions here at the Nashville Super Speedway. The banking some 14 degrees in the corners. The straightaways, however, are banked as well.
And you can see that he really has that thing. He's really not working the wheel very hard at all. He turns in, he pulls out, and he's already coming up on several cars to lap them here at a very early stage of this race on lap 18.
Well, that is Ward, Jeff Ward. Jeff spun in that last practice session, crashed, had to go with the backup car. They really had very little time to work with that car, so now he is a lap off the pace. Wardy has 1 victory this season. That's, is this Robbie or is this, no, that's Sarah. Sarah Fisher in 23. The car is painted up just alike. Sarah, her best qualifying effort of the season. Started 7th.
Yeah, she had fallen back to 15th, so she was not doing all that well, and obviously has a huge
smoke from that Infinity power plant. Now George Mack has been placed a lap down. That Mack car is that silver car right behind the yellow number 4. There are 2 lap cars between first and second. Larry, as you said, we're looking at a pit window or a fuel window about 50 laps, a 3-stop race, but of course that can all change depending on yellows.
Billy Boat doing a nice job running in second position. He's been able to hold off Castroneves and Scheckter. Both of those cars running with him, but not really faster than him. Hornish, on the other hand, was definitely the fastest car on the racetrack. Still is, as a matter of fact, by about a mile an hour over everybody else.
Boat has had 3 finishes in the top 10 this year. Not crashed the top 5. They played 11 in the point standings as you see the cowling coming off the rear of the race car. So a problem with the Infinity power plant as the young lady voted the most popular driver in the IRL just a year ago. Can only sit there in the cockpit and hope she can get back out there.
Wow, he is really putting some mileage on these guys. That was Boycell that he just went around. You can see he got 3 cars right in front of him. Greg Ray will be the next victim. So he is really running a lot faster than some of these guys in the back of the pack.
Heard him pop the rev limiter there. Now we're hearing from the pit lane, Larry, that it might be a battery problem with Sarah Fisher's Infinity and not an engine problem.
Well, he got very high. He tried to go around on the outside of Greg Ray getting into the corner, and got very, very high. Yellow light.
Oh, we have a fire, and is that on the team car? That's the 24 car. That is the other car of the Purex team.
Wow. Both of them with trouble within about a lap and a half or 2 laps of each other, and he's got a huge fire coming out of the back of that thing. You can see that black smoke. Yeah, he's going to pull in and get him to put that thing out. That's it's got some of the carbon fiber on fire.
I set the grass on fire as well. The pits are closed as he is okay. Robbie climbs out. This is a team that's actually partially owned by Robbie Buell.
Yeah, you can see the smoke's coming out of the cockpit now, so it was hot all up through there. Guys with the fire extinguishers now arriving, but that thing was on fire big time.
So under yellow, Sam Hornish continues to lead with Boat in second, Castronevic is third.
Welcome back to our coverage here on Sky Sports of the Firestone Indy 200 from the Nashville Superspeedway. As you can see, we are currently under a yellow at the Superspeedway. We saw just a moment ago Robbie Buell, his car on fire, so the yellow is out. We understand that while we've been on that break, everyone has pitted. We think that Sam Hornish is back out, though, in the lead. And, Rob, when we look at what we see so far, pretty aggressive start from Sam Hornish, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Paul was saying that seems very aggressive this early in the race, doesn't it? But he's an aggressive guy. He wants to win. He wants to try and get a big lead. Yeah. But interesting.
Paul, did you think there was contact between the cars? They got pretty close, didn't they?
I think it was probably down to a feeler gauge. It was certainly not a big distance, but no, I don't think they touched. But that was extremely aggressive racing for lap 2.
Sure. If they touched, do you think there would have been? We would have seen the results because they're going so fast. These guys.
You're doing over 200 mile an hour on every point at that track, so yes, you're looking at a sizable accident.
Yeah. I must say that those opening laps, it looks spectacular, doesn't it? At dusk with the sun going down, and there's a good crowd. Obviously, a lot of interest in this type of racing out there.
Oh, they love it down in the deep south. They love their NASCAR. They love all their high-speed racing. So yeah, it's great to see a good crowd there. But we had a good racing store, I reckon.
Yeah, and I mean the fact is that in the States they know their marketing very well, don't they, Paul? And Rob was saying that quite often you get a deal for a ticket for a Winston Cup event. You then get in to see stuff like we're seeing today. It's all done cleverly. You get a hot dog and a Coke thrown in.
Yeah, I think the Kansas race and this race are marketed in that fashion, that you get the Busch race, the NASCAR race, and the IRL race, which is a massively good deal because, as Rob says, you know, in the South they love their racing no matter what it is.
Yeah, and what do you make of these opening laps so far? I mean, it was an aggressive start from Sam.
Thomas Scheckter appears to have calmed down and stayed where he is in 4th, but the front 2 are definitely going for battle. But I think Billy will unfortunately fade and Sam will get ahead, but the Penske boys are right there.
Right, incidentally, I'm just hearing that, in fact, not everyone pitted. Tony Renner actually leads because he didn't go in, so he's currently in the lead under this yellow.
Yeah, he's coming in for Alan Sir Jr., who hasn't made this race for various reasons. But yeah, that could be a tactic. But we've yet to see the Penske guys. Long way to go here.
Sure.
But yeah, he's so aggressive at the start with Hornish, but he's so good in this close stuff. It was so close, and he just seems to love that kind of racing.
The one good thing, of course, also is that the weather looks set fair. I mean, I know it's early yet, but at least it does look dry. We don't want any rain around to interrupt this. It should be a good race.
It should be. The only problem in that area is you can go in a matter of minutes, you can suddenly have a cloud burst, but it'll soon dry up if it does.
Okay, boys.
Probably set.
Thank you very much indeed. As you can see, we are now back with our coverage coming to you live from Nashville. Let's once again cross back to the USA and rejoin Larry Rice and Gary Lee.
The Indy Racing League from the Nashville Superspeedway. Gary Lee alongside Larry Rice, the 10th race of a 15-race schedule, and we've had 3 night races. This will be the final night race of the year, and as we said earlier, the only race on a concrete surface. There's Tony Renna, the age of 25, his first race with the Indy Racing League.
Yes, he developed his skills mostly in the Barber Dodge Series, some Indy Lights, but he was very good in the Barber Dodge Series when he ran that a few years ago.
We've heard from one of the teammates, Sarah Fisher, her sidekick Robbie Buell, also out of the race now with that fire in the rear of the car, and hopefully we can hear from Robbie momentarily before we go back to racing here at Nashville. As you look out the back of Sam Hornish's car, he'll restart in the 3rd position. So Eliseo Salazar now rides in 2nd, and of course we talked about that near fatal crash that he had in practice at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway back in April. Tore an artery in his chest. They caught it at Methodist Hospital just really in the nick of time. before he actually would have bled to death internally.
Yeah. And nobody really expected him to come back nearly this
Not
quickly.
until perhaps the beginning of next season.
Exactly. They thought it would be 9 months to a year before he could come back. There he is right there with his green helmet.
And realistically, he said, I am not back to 100%. I'm not really sure what this racetrack will do to beat me up. We're not really sure if he can hang on for 200 laps here.
Well, physically, this is one of the tougher racetracks on the circuit because you do pull about 4.5, 5 Gs in the corners, and because it's so rough. It is very, very bumpy on this racetrack, and it really is physically a very difficult racetrack to run.
Well, you see Boat dropped 4 positions on that pit stop. Hearn only 1. Farron picked up 1. And we're still trying to get that cut. There is.
You know, you're smoking, and I didn't feel anything. So I don't think anything broke in the car. It just was smoking, and then, so I figured I was just going to coast in, and then guys were like, you're on fire, you're on fire. They're like, you need to get out. So that was just a function of getting out.
We're glad to see that you're okay. Paul, we're getting ready to go back to green.
Yeah, in DeLand, Florida.
Tony Renna, a rookie, will have the chance to bring them back. There's your restart order. The first 2 did not make a pit stop. They chose to make up track position under that yellow. So Renna brings them off, and look at Sam Hornish goes to work immediately on the restart on the high side of Salazar.
Well, he certainly does, and I think he's going to take it a little bit easier this time. He's not going to go out there and force himself right away, and I think that's a smart move on Hornish's part. He knows he's got a fast race car. He's got a race car capable of winning. He doesn't want to do anything foolish early in the race. Look at Scheckter back there on the outside.
That's Scheckter on the high side of Castro-Neves. And there's Boat right behind Scheckter.
Yeah, those 3 cars running very tight as Scheckter tried to go on the outside, finally decided about halfway around the corner that wasn't going to be the best thing to do and pull back into single file.
Well, again, as we get more rubber down, we will likely see a little higher groove. But right now, we've seen both Scheckter and Hornish run where nobody else is running.
Yes, and you're going to see that sometimes when you make a tire change, as they did that last time, Hornish does not appear to be nearly as fast this time out as he was the last time. It doesn't appear that he's just smoking away from everybody as he was, as Castro-Neves was all over him through that last corner.
So that Dismore is having a good ride at the age of 45. The oldest driver in the race began in the 16th position, now up to 10th. There's a look at the battle for second.
Once again, Hornish had an idea going out there. And you can see he rides about a half a car width wide, but he's just not sure enough to go 2 car widths wide out there and try to make that pass through the corner.
And Renna's trying to check out. Renna's over 2 seconds out. There's a good battle for 4th position.
Oh, look at Scheckter.
Get off the wall.
Man, oh man, he came very close to plugging that thing right in the fence right there.
He's lost 2, 3 positions, maybe more.
Well, he's just trying to gather himself back up because when you do that, you get marbles on the tires, and it doesn't want to go through the corner very good. So it takes you 1 complete corner just to get the tires clean enough to run fast again. And that's exactly
Dismore right behind him.
Right, so he lost a lot of spots. He tried to go around on the outside, and we talked about it not being very easy to go around on the outside, and that shows you what can happen if you don't make that pass work.
Well, look at the gap between first and second, almost the entire back straightaway. Now over a 3-second advantage for this rookie right here. And there's the battle for second, but as long as these 2 continue to battle for a position, Tony has a clear track in front of him. He can use that to his advantage.
Well, that's exactly what he's doing. He's just running away from everybody. As Salazar's not really holding up Hornish a great deal. But remember, Hornish and Castro-Neves, those guys have full fuel loads. Renna's car is lighter right now.
So is
Salazar. So they should have.
But at the same time, these guys have fresher tires that made that pit stop.
Well, they do have fresher tires. You can see he's just not brave enough to go on the outside right now. He
might be smart enough.
Well, exactly. I think smart is the key word right there because I don't think it's a very wise thing to do at this point. But look how much, when you let out of the throttle, look how much ground you lose. And that's what happened there. He got clear out of the throttle, and look at Gilles de Ferran.
3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th, nose to tail. De Ferran goes to the inside. He wants to advance a position and does so. And that was simply because Hornish had to check up just a bit, and the momentum went to
That's
Castroneves.
That's right. DeFerrin back here, he's come a long way. He started way back in I think 13th position.
He was 13th on the start. Now he moves up to the 6th position.
And running right with all these leaders. There's Giaffoni right behind him. DeFerrin and Richie Hearn running right behind Giaffoni.
There's a good battle back there for 3rd. Castroneves 3rd. 4th is the yellow number 4, the Pennzoil car. That's Sam Hornish. And so there you see in your picture 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. But the lead continues to grow.
Yeah, Tony Renna is over 7 seconds ahead of this group of cars. Wow.
So a rookie in his first IRL run out in front by some 7 seconds. Look at the most unique sky there, the color through some of those clouds as the sun sets over western Tennessee, and you look over the rear wing of the Pennzoil car. Again, this is the battle for 2nd position. You may have him now on the inside.
Yeah.
Oh, he scoots on by.
Yeah, Salazar didn't want to be on the outside going through the corner, so he just got out of the throttle, and you can see the crew encouraging him and clapping their hands there as Hornish got by 2 guys in 2 laps right there. And as the fuel load gets off, this car seems to run better on long runs. The longer they run, the better this car goes. And now then, though, he's got a long way to go, over an 8-second lead for Tony Renna.
That car that's leading is the car that Al Unser drove to 2nd place in that near photo finish at Texas. And so we know that car is capable of being up in front, but I tell you, this is an impressive drive for this rookie.
Yes, it is. It certainly is. He's doing a terrific job in that car. First time in it. He has tested these cars. He's never raced an IRL car, so he is definitely showing his peers that he belongs here in the IRL.
Back up there in that battle for 3rd position. There is your leader. You're on board with your leader. And he goes to the inside of George Mack.
Well,
live coverage from Nashville Superspeedway. Gary Lee and Larry Rice as you ride along with your leader. That is Tony Renna. And the Corteco, that's the Kelly entry with over a 7-second margin right now over Sam Hornish. And he has been slicing through traffic.
well, and that's
impressive ride.
That's right. Very impressive, and it's very difficult for a young guy to know, when you haven't really raced. I mean, he's raced a lot of cars. He's got a lot of experience.
Tested these cars, but never actually raced
exactly. But when you get with new guys, new drivers you have never raced with before, you're never quite sure. When he lapped George Mack just a second ago, he wasn't real sure Mack was going to give him room. But when he did, he went ahead and took the spot. Now then, look at this.
Billy Boat's going to lose a spot.
He certainly is. That's Gilles DeFerrin.
DeFerrin on the inside, and he squeezes on by, so DeFerrin goes to 5th spot. Boat drops to 6th. Boat was the early leader, led the first 12 laps of this event before Hornish took over. Then under the yellow, Hornish made a pit stop. Tony Renna didn't. So Tony has been in the lead since that yellow.
Well, Tony Renna and Salazar are getting close to the point where they're going to have to make a pit stop. They've run 51 laps now, so they, you cannot run much over 52, 53, maybe 54, but I think that's about the max. If they don't get a yellow, they're going to have to make a green flag pit stop.
Because of that yellow flag, they may have picked up an extra 2 or 3 or 4 laps if they could go without making the stop, but they are almost running on empty right now.
Right, and if they have to stop under green, it's going to be a big disadvantage. They're going to go a lap down for sure.
Well, it was a roll of the dice that they stay out. If they got the yellow, it was a wise move.
Well, as you can hear, we've just got a slight problem at the moment with the sound circuit from the USA. Vision, thankfully, remains uninterrupted. So we will attempt to get back to our commentators in the USA just as soon as we can. For the moment, as I say, thankfully we can see what's happening in the race. And happily, it seems to be going pretty well so far. Rob, what's your thoughts about what we've seen in this latter stage since that first yellow? This is developing into quite a good race, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, Paul and I were debating, Paul thinks Penske is just going to walk away with it. I think Billy Boat's going to win this thing.
You're a Billy Boat fan, right? I understand happily. We are in touch once again with Larry Rice and Gary Lee. Let's now cross back once again to Nashville.
Racing for Andy Evans back then, and his team engineer was Dick Simon.
There is a 60-mile-an-hour speed limit, so they have to slow way down and only run 60 miles an hour through that pit area.
See, all the guys over the wall are required now to wear helmets. A little adjustment to the front wing. Still have yet to finish the refueling.
Had trouble with the right rear tire.
Left rear tire.
Left rear tire, excuse me. Oh, that was a huge problem for him. Boy, under green, that cost him a lot of time.
He drops from third to about a lap off the pace. And here is your leader again, but the question is, when will he come in? How long can they stretch this fuel run? Now he's gone, what, 56 laps?
Well, he's going to have to stop pretty soon. He just can't, he's not going to be able to make it much longer. But if he gets in and gets out, he can still be okay. Even if everybody else doesn't have to make a green flag pit stop, he can still gain his lap back if everybody makes a pit stop under the yellow, but he can't lose more than one lap. And Salazar came dangerously close to losing. He did lose. He lost 2 laps because of that big, long pit stop.
Go by Jeff Ward, driving a backup car. As we documented earlier, he crashed in that last warm-up this afternoon, so they had to go to the back of the pack on the start in a backup machine. And the yellow is out. The yellow is out. Look at this. You talk about a break.
Unbelievable.
The yellow. Oh, and there's the reason. Is that Greg Ray?
Those cars are identical. He and Salazar's cars are painted identical.
He's got the red helmet on.
Yep, you're exactly right.
Or is that Dare? I mean, all 3 cars are painted up just alike. Greg Ray in the number 41 car brings out the yellow with his crash. And that's exactly what he didn't need, but exactly what Tony Renna did need.
That's a huge break for Tony Renna. Now, not only is he one of the fastest cars on the racetrack, he's on the pit cycle with everybody else and gets to stop when they do, although he will probably fall back to the back unless everybody else comes in. But everybody else has run 33 laps, so they may all come in and really put him in a good position.
There's Old Boiselle in the Bradley Motorsports entry, number 12. This is the car that Buzz Calkins drove. Apparently we're hearing that Boiselle went high and may have taken Ray to the wall.
Well, that's a tough break for Greg Ray. I mean, he's really had an absolutely rotten year. I mean, he's not been running all that fast.
Well, let's watch again and see if we can determine what happened, Larry. Well, nobody pushed him up there. He just drove up there.
No, that
was a big hit.
Yeah, he just got up there. It looked like the car just took off on him. He might have had a tire going down because he just got way wide, just went up and hit the wall going through the corner, and it appeared that nothing to do with anybody else on the racetrack.
Dr. Henry Bach, the medical director for the Indy Racing League, that is his vehicle. He drives to the crash scene. And he can do a triage right there. Obviously, the ambulance was not needed, but he'll take him back to the infield and check him out. A lot of damage to AJ's car. AJ Foyt with 3 cars in the field this evening. He said that if Salazar could come back and pass his physical and get cleared, he would run all 3 cars the rest of the season. We understand that Tony Renna will be headed for the pit lane this time around. And I tell you, he has to be on fumes.
I don't know. He's run 60 laps. I have no idea.
Boiselle almost hit the tire.
Oh, there you can see Boiselle did exactly the same thing. Oh, he bounced off the wall.
Oh, that's what happened. Okay. That's Boiselle that just made some slight contact.
And that appeared to be almost exactly the same thing that Greg Ray did, except Greg Ray hit it a lot harder.
All right. Wholesale pit stops as Renna leads them in. And we'll see if anybody stays out or if the entire field's going to make a pit stop.
Renna has never made a pit stop before, so it'll be interesting to see if he can do the things he's got to do. It's not as easy as everybody thinks. It's not like you just pull in there and let everybody in the pit crew do the work. There are certain things you have to do. Put the tires on. You have to make sure that the thing is in gear and out of gear at the proper times, and you have to make sure you don't make any mistakes. And he got in and out great. He did a great job. He's not going to keep the lead, but a very, very good job for Tony Renna.
We'll see who comes out of this scramble in the pit lane with the lead. We got a problem down there on. Oh no!
Oh, we just told you what a great job he did
coming out of the pits. As you said, he's never made a pit stop in his racing career. He lit the tires up coming out and spins on the pit exit.
Oh man, what a tough break. That's one of the things, a learning process this young man's going to have to go through.
Let's watch again. Here it comes on the cold tires. Now watch him light it up right in the middle of your screen. He gets on the throttle, and right there, the car goes around on him. Takes a couple of cones with him.
Yep.
Learning experience. You learn from your mistakes, and he just made one.
See, he goes across that line. That's where the speed limit's. Right there, you can pick up your speed, and when he tried to pick up his speed, he just made a mistake and spun that thing. Boy, that's going to cost him dearly, but it's one of the things you have to go through, being a rookie.
Wow, they're showing Eddie Cheever for the restart in the lead as we take this break. And show you what it looks like when you do a little half spin. Okay, they're getting ready to leave the pit area. They're changing tires. All right, the car has been released. We're looking back now.
So he did a great job getting out there. I think he saw Scheckter out there. That's what happened. Scheckter went by him, and he got excited and hit the gas and just spun that thing around, exactly as you said. When he saw Scheckter trying to get by him, he was going to go goose it and go right back past him.
Well, that line right there, I think, is the blend line when you come out of the pits. And he certainly wanted to be in front of that car that was pulling alongside of him. Now, right here comes Scheckter.
Yeah,
You'll
you can see
line
though.
Go by. There was a line.
Watch. As soon as Scheckter goes by him, that's when he hits the gas. Watch. Right there.
There goes the car. He could have hit Scheckter had they been a little closer.
Exactly. He just, as soon as he saw Scheckter going by him and he thought he should be in front of Scheckter, he hit the throttle and just enough to put him out. And boy, what a tough break, because that put him
3 laps down.
3 laps down.
From the lead to 3 laps down. And so as you said.
But that's how easy it is. That's how easy it is to make a mistake and cost yourself a chance of victory in these races. I told you that it's not as easy making a pit stop as a lot of people think it is. The driver
you were prophetic, weren't you, on that one?
Driver has a lot of responsibilities on a pit stop, and getting in and out of the pits are part of those responsibilities. And in this case, he just doesn't do a very good job of getting out of the pits.
Well, you can see that the cleanup continues after the Greg Ray crash. And riding along with Tony Renna, who is 3 laps off the pace. And the same thing that the Team Kelly decided to do the last time around is exactly what Team Cheever pulled this time. That's why Eddie Cheever has the lead for this restart. Cheever, Barron, Castro-Nevis, Hornish. So actually it'll be, unless there's another quick yellow, Castro-Nevis and Hornish battling for the lead, because both Barron and Cheever will have to make that pit stop. Looks like the track is almost cleared of any debris from the Greg Ray crash. Well, I tell you what, you talk about a guy's career that's gone from the penthouse to the outhouse.
Unbelievable.
It's Greg Ray.
It's unbelievable how badly things have gone for him in the last year. He has just, you're absolutely right, things couldn't be worse.
Season champion.
Season champion.
A guy who was always vying for the pole position.
To a guy that's starting in last place or next to last place or in the last 2 rows and crashing. He's crashed several times this year, and when he hasn't crashed, he's just run miserably. So I'm not sure.
Well, the A.J. Foyt team, with the exception of winning a couple of weeks ago and Dare finishing 3rd in that tight battle at Texas, the Foyt team has not had a lot to present this season.
Well, in this race in particular, they were 3 Foyt cars, and I think they were 3 of the last.
Salazar started 17th, Dare was 19th, and Greg Ray was 20th.
Yeah, so they were near the end of the field, all 3 of them. So it's certainly not something that the drivers have a lot to do with.
Our live coverage continues from the Nashville Superspeedway. We call it Nashville, Tennessee. It's just actually a suburb, Lebanon, Tennessee, just outside Nashville, which is the country music capital of the world.
And you can sing.
You sing country music, Larry?
I can't sing any kind of music, so it doesn't much matter what part of the country we're in.
Uh-oh, look at this.
I think he's going to come in, top off his fuel, try to use a little pit strategy to maybe gain back 1 or 2 of the laps that he's lost. So he'll try to come in so that he can stay out an extra 8 or 10 laps, and if he can, on the next yellow flag, it might give him...
They're changing tires as well. So they're topping off the fuel plus changing tires on this Kelly entry. We're going to try to hear from Greg Ray.
Be interesting to see what Greg has to say.
Yeah, I mean, it's very disappointing for Harris and AJ Foyt. You know, we had a big group of people from EDS and AT Kearney here, and we had a pretty good car. We were moving our way up the field, and I saw the yellow come out, and we were right on line, and I don't know if something broke or ran over some fluid or cut a tire or something, but I was right on line, slowing down. The car just took off, and I was just a passenger, so really disappointing. I mean, like you said, I think we're scratching our head. I think that must be the Bermuda Triangle over there or something, because it's just very disappointing for everybody involved. I mean, we deserve to have better showings than this.
Well, we're glad that you're okay. We look forward to your appearance at Michigan next.
You know, you really wonder, he mentioned maybe some fluid on the racetrack, because we saw Boiselle actually brush the fence, got very high, and directly behind that, Greg Ray. So apparently there may be some merit to that and something on the racetrack.
That's exactly right. I think probably there was something on the racetrack, because both of those incidents happened exactly in the same spot. Boiselle tagged the fence. That's when the yellow came out, and just after that is when he went up and got in the fence. So there may have very well been some fluid on the racetrack down there in that corner.
You saw Dare kind of scrubbing with the steering wheel, scrubbing those tires. He's back in 9th position on this restart.
Salazar is actually in 2nd place on the racetrack, but he is a lap down. So it is Barron is the 3rd car in your picture. He's actually running 2nd. Salazar is a lap car.
Well, Cheever will bring them around for the restart. There obviously has been a question, or even 2 this season, whether this will be the last season for Cheever as a driver. There have been some thoughts that he might remain as a car owner, but may not drive, or perhaps only drive Indy.
Castroneves went out there. DeFerrin went out there. Hornish got a good run because Castroneves had to get out of the throttle. Let's see if he's going to have... Oh! Castroneves is going to give him enough room, and he was a little hesitant to take it.
And look at that, his teammate's going to go by as well. DeFerrin goes by. Oh, he lifted just an eyelash and was up to lose 2 positions.
And he's going to lose another one.
Here comes Scheckter.
Yeah, you lift a little bit.
Mark Dismore.
You lift just a little bit, it can cost you big time here, as we saw Scheckter go from about 4th back to 9th a while ago, and now then Castroneves has gone back.
What a great ride for Mark Dismore. He started 16th. He's up running 7th right now.
Look at this. DeFerrin underneath Alex Barron takes that spot away.
I tell you, we thought this was going to be a one-groove racetrack, but we're seeing some passes out there.
We are seeing some passing being done, but not very many guys going on the outside in the middle of the corner. They're getting a nice run. They're making the guy give them the spot getting into the corner, and that's just about that is the best way to pass here at this speedway.
Sam Hornish right now trying to get around that Salazar car, and no matter how many laps down he is, it's tough to get around Salazar.
Yes, it is. Now then he got a big run coming off the corner. But yeah, Salazar's going to let him go.
Well, Salazar now is 2 laps off the pace. He has to really let him go.
Yeah, when he let out of the throttle, oh, he pulled right back down in front of Gilles DeFerrin. DeFerrin had a big run on him too. Let's see if he can make this pass on the outside. Oh, no, see, it's very difficult through the middle of the corner. It's just
This is one of the complaints that some of the drivers have had about Salazar, because even though he's 2 laps off the pace, he will not let one of the lead cars go on by. It makes it very difficult to lap him.
And look at Hornish. Look how quickly he pulled up on Eddie Cheever through the middle of that corner. Straight away, he doesn't gain much, but look at him in the corner. He really pulls up on him in the corner.
Theoretically, that Infiniti has more horsepower. It's also a lighter race car stand on fuel, but yet look at Hornish pull up on him.
Well, I think the difference here is that the handling characteristics. Hornish has his car handling much better. It's just going through the middle of the corners. It doesn't have anything to do with horsepower. This racetrack is not nearly a horsepower racetrack like Texas is.
But in theory, if you've got a little more horsepower and a lighter race car, and again, handling is going to play a key to this thing, But that's a lighter race car that's leading this race right now because he's gone, 56 laps since his last pit stop.
Absolutely. Well, watch him coming out of the corner. Look how he goes right up to the wall and then jerks it back down. The front end is pushing on that car. He's going right to the wall. Oh, man, that time Horny's got a big run on him.
Wow. And there's DeFerrin back there in third position. That's the battle for second right now. That's DeFerrin. And DeFerrin looks to the inside, and he's going to squeeze on by.
Yeah, once he had to get out the throttle, he lost his momentum, and anybody that was close to him was going to make that pass.
Cheever drops from first to third. Barron is fourth. Fifth is Castro Neves. Then Dare has gotten around Scheckter for sixth position. Scheckter is seventh. And look at this, the hijack car of Laurent Redon in the pits. They had some problems with a fuel pump. Did not qualify yesterday. Started at the back of the pack. He was the leading rookie coming in. But this could close that down. There are only 20 points separating those two. There's $50,000 up for grabs in the Bombardier Rookie of the Year challenge.
Now Castro Neves is all over Alex Barron, but look at this. Dare gets a big run. He had to get out of the throttle enough. Dare takes that spot.
Dare up to fifth position. Saw him win a couple of weeks ago. He finished third in that very tight finish at Texas, which became the closest finish ever in the history of the Indy Racing League. Dare right now is the yellow on the track for debris, our third yellow of the day.
Well, that's a great break for Eddie Cheever because he was going to have to make a pit stop very shortly. And also for Alex Barron, who needs to make a pit stop. So both of those guys are going to get a break and get to go under the yellow flag.
Our third yellow, our first was for Robbie Buell's engine fire. Then Greg Ray brought out the yellow for his crash on lap 58. Now on lap 81, debris, and that will open up the pits for another round of pit stops.
So Sam Hornish continues to lead at the Nashville Super Speedway, and we can still appreciate the pictures coming to us live from the USA while we just take a short break from the action. Let's just discuss what we've seen so far, chaps, because I think this has turned out to be quite an interesting race, certainly at the front. Billy Boat, I think, sadly, Rob, is under a bit of a threat here, isn't he?
My predictions always go wrong, but you never know. There's a little way to go. You know, we were talking off air earlier that it's a one-groove racetrack, but they seem to be doing some pretty good racing. And Paul, you were making the point that when you do get outside that groove, though, it does seem to get very, very slippery indeed. There's no rubber out there, and so that makes it quite interesting.
There's no margin for error there. Once you're out of that groove, you're in trouble.
No, considering the banking there, and you've got 14-degree turns, it's quite surprising that once people get mid-corner, there is not two grooves under any conditions at all.
Yeah, and we're seeing some very close, tight action. I mean, some of it is breathtakingly close.
Yes, Salazar bulking everybody is as close as most people would want to be.
What's he playing at? What's he doing?
He's been out of it for 4 months. He's an aggressive racer. It doesn't matter whether he's at the front or the back. That's the way Eliseo is, and I'm afraid everybody knows that. They complain about it, but you've just got to go with the guy.
He carries on driving like that. Rob, I have to say that from a spectator's point of view, looking at these pictures, they look great, don't they? It's suddenly gone very dark, which has made it very dramatic. But the concrete track means that you've got this rather light track on which all these fantastic cars look so good under lights.
Yeah, it's a fantastic spectacle. We were saying also the rubber on the track gives that sensation of speed when you get the onboard camera shots. We saw the great onboard camera stuff with Tony Renna's spin coming out of the pits, and that was a real rookie mistake, but he's doing okay. And yeah, it's just great. I mean, being there is awesome. Watching it on TV is pretty darn good.
Yeah, certainly it's something that I think we sort of miss out in the UK. I mean, to race under lights, this sort of drama, it's terrific action, isn't it?
Yeah, it is fantastic. Of course, we got this oval at Rockingham here in the UK. Oh, it looks like we got a. Did he spin it? Yeah.
I'm not sure, but anyway, I think we can now go back. So thank you, boys, for that. Let's now cross back once again, and let's go back to rejoin the action in the Firestone Indy 200, coming from the Nashville Super Speedway. Larry Rice and Gary Lee again.
I'm not sure what Eddie looked like. He looked in his mirror and thought everything wasn't okay, and he got out, and it cost him a little time, and Alex Barron got around him.
All right, here comes the start. Hornish, DeFerrin, Salazar, actually 2 laps off the pace.
Here comes Dare on the outside again.
On the outside in third position.
And AJ saying, don't you challenge him, Salazar, let him go. Dare, the only one of the Foyt's cars that's really in the hunt here tonight. He's doing a great job.
Dare has been the shining ray for A.J. Foyt.
Remember, he started back in 19th position, so he's definitely been on the move, and he's running just as fast. There were 20 cars that all qualified within 0.4 of a second of each other here tonight, and 20 cars that broke last year's track record. So this racetrack is much faster, the cars are much faster, and Ayrton Dare seems to be as quick as anybody in the racetrack right now.
His last lap, 198 miles an hour, so in fact he was faster than Farron. And even a mile or two a lap is just a snap of the finger on this racetrack.
It sounds like a lot, but it's just an eyelash, just a very, very small amount of time in a mile an hour on this kind of a racetrack.
Well, right now only 14 cars are on the lead lap, and 14th position belongs to Eddie Cheever. So Cheever, that's, I won't call it a miscue, but he paused just a moment and put him at the very back of the lead lap.
Well, and it may not, in the long run, it may not hurt him all that much, because he still may, if pit strategy falls right, he could still end up in the lead after everybody else makes their next pit stop.
13 seconds back in the 14th position. Once again, Hornish, DeFerrin, and Dare, the top three. Fourth position is Castro-Nevitz. Then it's Scheckter, Foyt, Giafone. Dismore now rides in 8th. Hearn is 9th, and 10th is Sharp. And I tell you what, you talk about guys with bad luck. We would love to see some Lady Luck shining on and smiling at Mark Dismore, because Dismore is overdue for a good ride.
Yeah, he has had a lot of bad luck here in the last year or so. Had an excellent chance to win the Indianapolis 500 last year when he had some mechanical problems, and things went downhill from there.
This is the second time that Hornish has led.
And you can hear
leaders so far this evening.
You can hear from the onboard camera that he just kind of burps the engine a little bit. Otherwise, it's pretty much flat out. They do, the IRL demands or mandates that these cars run 12 degrees of rear wing. That's the most wing that they're required to run anywhere. Here in Miami, both places, they have to run 12 degrees of rear wing, and they have to run a 1-inch wicker bill. That's to plant the cars. They don't, because it is fairly rough here, they feel like it's better to run a lot of downforce and make them run the downforce so they don't get in so much trouble.
Jill DeFerrin has led the most laps this season coming into this event with 508. Sam Hornish was second at 361. He continues to pile up the lead laps in this race as he pulls up behind the Ward Target Chip Ganassi entry. And that's that backup car that he had no time to work with in the hot lap session earlier today. And so Wardy right now is showing back in 15th spot, but he now is 2 laps, almost 3 laps.
Yeah, and he's just riding out there. He knows he doesn't have a chance to win this race. He's just running out there, going to get as many points as he can and try to stay out of everybody's way.
5 races remain after this event. Next week we take you to the 2-mile High Bank, Michigan International Speedway in Jackson, Michigan, the beautiful Irish Hills, for a 400-mile event. First time for the Indy Racing League at that Michigan racetrack. And boy, we've seen some great races up there in past years.
Well, we certainly have. You talk about a wide open racetrack and some place where you can run 2 and 3 abreast. Michigan International is definitely one of those kind of racetracks.
That's the kind of racetrack this guy likes right here. Sam Hornish continues to lead. His lead now just a second over Jill DeFerrin.
I'm not too sure there's not any racetrack this guy doesn't like, because he seems to win on just about any.
I'm sure he likes the road courses. I'm not sure he's tried a road course since his karting days.
Right, but he's been very good on the short handling type racetracks, and he's been very good on the big horsepower type racetracks. Hasn't been one that he's been all that much better on than the others. Take a look at Dare, who once again is running right with DeFerrin, about 8 or 10 car lengths back, but has not lost any ground to him in the last 4 or 5 laps, and he's running just as quick as the leaders have been here for this whole last 20 or 30 laps.
This is the 9th race of the year that Hornish has led. Only 1 race this season did not find him up in front. Dare was working on that streamer a little more than what Hornish was the last time we were on board with Sam.
Well, doesn't matter whether he's working on it or not, he's making that car go fast, and that's all that matters at this point in the game. He's sandwiched between those 2 Penske cars, one in front of him and one in back of him.
As we said earlier, this is one more physically demanding racetracks, not only because of the G-load, but it's a rougher track than what they're used to because of this concrete surface.
And you'll notice he does not have near the telemetry on his steering wheel that we saw on Sam Hornish and some of the other cars. There's not all the red lights and all the blinking little gizmos and gadgets on there. On Dare's car.
How would you have time to read that stuff anyway?
Well, you know, I don't know whether you do or not, but certainly a lot of things there that can help you if you do have time to look at them.
There's the gap between third and fourth. Dare and Castroneves. Scheckter is now in the 5th position. As you look up there to second place, you can't even see first place. Now about a 2.5 second advantage for Sam Hornish over Gilles de Ferran.
It appears that Castroneves is closing in on Dare. He's been gaining on him very slightly here for the last 4 or 5 laps, but catching him and going around him might be two completely different scenarios because it's going to be very hard for him to go around.
You see that Greg Ray is out, Robbie Buell and his teammate Sarah Fisher. Buell with the pit fire, engine problems for Sarah, and Greg Ray had the crash that brought out our second yellow. We've had 3 yellow flags this evening. One for Buell's fire, one for Greg Ray's crash, and one for some debris on the racetrack.
Right now, everybody seems to be settled into a very comfortable pace, very comfortable spot on the racetrack. Nobody really making any challenges out there. As we take a look right along with Mark Dismore, who's
Dismore has fallen back to the 14th position. Not really sure what the problem is with Dismore. We talked about his long string of bad luck, and it looks like he's off the pace a bit.
He's off the pace a lot because he's really out of the throttle and running low down the straightaways.
His last lap was 159 miles an hour.
Sounds like that engine's not running on full song.
Well, now here's another racing team that has gone from the highs to the lows of this sport because they've always had a stout engine program, but I tell you, this season they've had all kinds of problems. They've lost a couple of drivers because of injuries, and yeah, he's headed in.
Yeah, I think there's an engine problem. Doesn't sound to me like it's hitting on all 8 cylinders. Sounds to me like he might have dropped a cylinder for whatever reason. And you're right, Gary. This team has certainly lost some of its luster, and I'm not sure exactly why. After Indianapolis, when they had all the problems with their drivers, just never have gotten back on track.
Well, they lost Jacques Lazier with an injury at Nazareth. They had P.J. Jones in that car and lost P.J. They brought Raul Boisel in, let him run for a couple races, and then gave him his walking papers, and now brought Mark Dismore in. And Mark's certainly a capable driver, but he's had some mechanical problems again this evening. Again, that battle, pretty much status quo on the racetrack right now. Second, third, and fourth right together, and here comes Scheckter back there in the 5th position.
Yeah, all those cars pretty much, as you said, running
about the same pace.
About the same pace, so not really gaining, not really losing on anybody. And I think they're going to be probably pretty happy. They're about 10 laps away from their next pit stop. So I think all those guys know that there's nothing really to be gained by pressing.
This is unscheduled. That's de Ferran.
Yeah, this is not
up there in second. That is not a scheduled pit stop.
No, this is.
He's on the apron. He's not even pulling off the racetrack. He came in on the apron, so he might be dead stick. I'm not sure that engine's even running.
Well, he's definitely not on schedule for a pit stop. So we'll have to wait and see what happens when he gets to his pit area. They do have the tires out. They're going to start like a regular pit stop, but I think it's got to be more than that. Although it appears nobody's looking anywhere else in there.
Well, I cannot believe that was a routine pit stop.
Well, he's certainly, if that was a routine pit stop, a scheduled pit stop, then he
very early. He's not getting very good fuel mileage.
Well, it could be a fuel pickup problem. Sometimes if you're not picking up the fuel real well, you might have to run more fuel and make more pit stops than anybody else. That's the only thing I can think of why he would come in after only 46 laps.
Well, that will certainly take him out of sequence, and this may have been a problem throughout the race that we did not pick up on because of the early yellows.
Right, everybody's been stopping at about 35 laps, 38 laps, so nobody has really gone, except for a few cars have gone 48, 49 laps.
That's going to bring out the yellow. That's going to bring out the yellow. Salazar on lap 110.
He got pushed out there. Somebody was going around him. He got pushed out and got out in the marbles. Once he got in the marbles, he just could not turn the car. He went up and did not hit it real heavy, but he certainly did hit it heavy enough.
I would
to do a lot of
not want to
damage.
be the one that have to talk to A.J. Foyt this evening. He's got 2 wreck race cars right now.
Well, he's going to have to get his checkbook out, and he's not going to like that one bit. You can see right there, he just got up in the marbles a little bit. He was out on the outside and just couldn't
Got her
get it
slowed
saved.
down a little bit.
Got it slowed down a little bit, but just could not get it saved, could not get it
That's
turned
Buddy
back down.
Lazier, last year's winner here in the Himmelgarn Coors Light number 91 under him, putting him another lap down.
See, that's one of the things we talked about. Once, when you're on the outside in the middle of the corner on this particular racetrack, it's just not very much grip out there. Salazar obviously did not get out of the throttle quite in time, thought he had more grip out there than he actually did have, and the car just took off on him, and bam, in the fence once again.
Earlier this weekend, he said he was kind of unsure of what to anticipate because he had a very serious accident in practice at Indianapolis, a testing session back in April, and surprised a lot of people by getting back in the race car this soon.
Well, you're going to see most of these guys head to the pit area on this yellow flag. They've gone about 49 laps. They were going to have to stop in another 5 or 6 laps anyway, so as soon as the pits are open, you're going to see almost everybody head for the pit area. Remember, DeFerrin came in early. He's a lap down, so if he gets back to the front of the field on this pit stop, he'll be behind the pace car, and he'll get to make that lap up and fall in at the end of the field.
Well, you're riding along with your leader. He's gone, 50 laps since his last pit stop, so all the lead cars will come in this time around. We've seen some teams try to exercise that strategy of staying out, but all the leaders will be coming in this time.
Yeah, they're going to have to all come in because they've been running under green for a lot of laps. They can't run all that many more, so, and they may wait. Everybody will just wait as soon as
Harnish goes in, they'll all come in.
Follow him. Exactly.
So right now you see Dare back there kind of scrubbing whatever debris may be on the tires, and here they come. Here they are. And Dare will have a pit long before Harnish gets to his.
He's clear on the turn 4 into the pit area. Harnish clear on the turn 1 end. So he will get into his pit and out of his pit quicker. But still, when they get that line down there, that's who will determine who's in the lead.
Adjustment to the front wing. Smokes the tires. Here is Kevin Blantz, the crew chief, going to work with his teammates to get the starter there in case they need it. He's away. But again, the Penske crew with a very good pit stop, and Dare got around him.
Yeah, I think he did. The Penske crew did their job better than anybody else. They got Castroneves out first. Dare barely beat the Panther team out, and the Panther team usually one of the best in the business.
First time this evening, Castroneves will have the lead on this restart at Nashville.
Welcome back to our coverage of the Firestone Indy 200, coming to you live from Nashville Superspeedway. We're currently under a yellow after Eliseo Salazar lost it. He went offline, went into the wall. I'm happy to say that he seems to be all right, and that Paul Cherry and Rob Murphy are with me here in the studio. And Paul, we want to know from you the details of quite why, when you go offline, inevitably you contact the wall. Let's have a look at it, and you can maybe take us through it.
Well, as we were discussing earlier, if you see where Eliseo is now, the track's very, very clean. The race cars are travelling in what is basically the grey zone. That's got rubber from the tyres. That's what's keeping those cars in position. Now, there's marbles, which are very small pieces of rubber, on the outside of those turns, and Eliseo's got offline, got on the marbles, and gone into the wall.
Yeah.
Also to do with that is the fact that it doesn't have a differential. The back wheels rotate at the same speed, and because of that, once the car moves offline, it immediately snaps in one direction or the other.
Right.
And because of the banking, the whole thing just gyrates towards the wall.
And in my simplistic way, I was sort of saying, you know, does that mean that once you've lost it, you really have lost it?
Yes, unlike
There's no way out of it.
Unlike a road course, you can't sort of turn into the slide and correct it. Yes, Sam Hornish has got away with that a few times. I'm sure the viewers will come back at me for that, but 9 out of 10 times you don't get away, and I'm afraid Eliseo did not.
Okay, Paul, thanks very much indeed. As you can see, we're just about to go back to racing. Once again, Larry Rice and Gary Lee.
As they pick up the throttle.
Dare does not get an extremely good start. Looks like now he's taking off a little better, but he looked like he lagged back just a little bit on that initial start.
Well, he may have stayed in that lower gear for a little longer than what Hornish
But look
did.
at what he's done. He's got a big run on him through that turn and got around Castro Neves.
Whatever he did, it was a pretty darn good
That
start.
was a very smart move. We thought he might have messed up, but he had a plan and it worked out perfectly.
Well, remember that restart 2 weeks ago when he won and beat Hornish.
Wow, and look at this, he goes right on around Scheckter in the same manner. So he gained 2 spots in the 1 lap, and he did it all because he got a big run going through turns 1 and 2 and made that pass down the back straightaway.
First time Dare has led today. Could he make it back-to-back wins for the A.J. Foyt team?
I think I said he went around Scheckter. I meant he went around Eddie Cheever. Of course, that's Cheever who was leading.
Oh, and now Castro Neves trying to get by, and he gets by Cheever for second, and here comes Sam Hornish.
Hornish had to get out of the throttle. Now he's lost his momentum. Does that mean that Scheckter behind him will get a little run on him and get by?
Look at that traffic directly behind Hornish. Scheckter, then the Hollywood car. We've really not talked about Felipe Giafone this evening.
But he's one of the guys who's been very consistent, been up front all year long.
Hang on. Cheever almost got the wall. He really had to backpedal out of that thing to keep that thing off the fence. Well, we have not talked about Lazier this evening, who won this race last year. Lazier now is up to 7.
And look at Cheever. He's just getting passed by everybody on the racetrack. His car's definitely not handling, even though he did stay out there and led for just a little while. Now look at this.
Lazier trying to block Giafone, and he gets by him for a position. Moves into 6th.
I believe that was Billy Boat that got around.
Boat?
I think so. It looked like Boat had a big run back there.
There's Lazier right there. Yeah, Boat got around Lazier and then got around the Hollywood car of Giafone. Now you're right with Scott Sharp back in the 10th position. And Scott looks to the inside of Lazier. That's Lazier in 91. Lazier won this race a year ago.
You can see when Scott Sharp has to lift out of the throttle to let him go, he lost a lot of momentum, a lot of ground, and that's his teammate right behind him, Tony Renna, who is still 3 laps down after that miscue on his pit stop.
Boy, I tell you, that's tough for that rookie because he was in the thick of it until that pit stop. There's Barron in that red, white, and blue, number 44.
And that's DeFerrin behind him. DeFerrin did make up his lap. Remember, he pitted under green, but he was the first car in line, so he got to go around to the end of the lead lap. So he is on the lead lap, but he's got a lot of traffic back there to deal with back there in 11th spot.
And we'll have to make one more pit stop. Dare's lead now about a half second over Castro Neves. Hornish is 3rd, Scheckter is 4th, then Cheever, then Boat, Giafone, Lazier, Sharp, and Barron rounding out the top 10.
And their last pit stop will be extremely crucial because especially if there are no more yellow flags. These guys, the track position is everything here at Nashville, and you've got to have good track position. That's what Eddie Cheever tried to do. Look at Hornish, he's got a big run.
And goes on by Castro Neves, and he set sail for Dare.
Now, Hornish has been one of the quickest cars here all night long, and he certainly showed right there. And Castro Neves did the smart thing. He saw him down there. He thought, now it's too early in the race still, 126 laps to be challenging him this closely.
All right, there's the battle up in front. About a third of a second separating first and second. Lap 128 of the scheduled 200. Slight banking in the straightaway to 14 degrees in the turn.
And you can see right through the middle of the corner that Hornish is definitely faster. He got a great run off that corner now.
Oh, they almost get together. I tell you what, Sam Hornish is probably the gutsiest guy out there, and he put Dare in the fence. Dare got high and got the fence. Another yellow, and all 3 of Foyt's cars have wrecked here this evening.
He's not going to be very happy, and neither is A.J. Foyt. He did not know that Harnish was going to do that. He tried to pull down, and he pulled back up. He once again, exactly the same thing that happened to Salazar. He got up in the marbles, and once you get in the marbles, you just absolutely cannot get that car saved. It's going to take off right to the wall, and he's not very happy. And I'm sure that he's going to say that Harnish did not have that pass made, but I think Harnish had every right to make that pass.
Well, let's watch it again on the replay. That was the battle up in front. Harnish tried the inside move. He had that big run on him. He got a good run off the corner and just tucked to the inside. Let's watch it again, Larry.
Yeah, he just had a huge run. See, he's up the side of it, and I just don't think that Dari thought he was going to get up that far. But once he got out of the side where that gray stuff is out there, you're never going to save a car when you get that high on this racetrack.
Well, let's watch it again.
See, right here. See, he comes down, and he almost makes contact right there. And that's when he had to get out of the throttle, and he started up the racetrack. Once he got to that position right there, where those right side tires are out of the black groove, he was in deep trouble, and there was no way to save that race car.
Well, right now it's really too early to make what would be the final pit stop of the race. So will these guys come in and top off the fuel under the yellow? We'll have to check out the pit strategies. You see the contact there. So all three of Foyt's cars have ended up against the outside concrete wall this evening here at Nashville.
What a top break there to Dari. I'm not sure how you can avoid something like that. You can see right there, he's right there. When he pulled down, he just wasn't ready.
You can't. You hear the impact when you hit the wall. You really can't blame Harnish.
No.
Harnish had a run at him. He moved down. It's up for Dari to use those mirrors right there and see who's behind him.
Yep.
And see where he's coming.
And you have to get out of the throttle and let him go.
Sam Harnish leads under yellow here at Nashville.
Welcome back to the Firestone Indy 200 here on Sky Sports. As you can see, we're currently racing under a yellow. The latest driver to take issue with the wall, Dari. That's an incident which has provoked this latest yellow. Obviously, all the others have taken the advantage of going in for a pit stop, and it's really a pretty hectic scene. And Rob, this is what we'd expect, but this is turning out to be a very exciting race.
Yeah, it's really mixing it up at the front. Harnish is so aggressive. That was such a good move. I think, you know, the Dari was unfortunate. It was just so close. We were talking about how tricky it is offline, but you know, Cheever's right up there, and Scheckter's looking good too.
Yeah, and this is a typical hectic scene that you would expect to see at this time in the race.
Yeah, it's so hard to call right now. The Penske guys are looking, well, one of the Penske ones, and Eliseo Salazar is looking strong. DeFerrin not so strong. Cheever again up there. Harnish is still, you know, it's tough. Yeah, it's getting closer and closer and tougher to call.
Yeah, we're getting near the end of the race, of course, Paul, so I just wonder how significant these pit stops are now, because, you know, tactically you've got to get this right.
Absolutely, every pit stop's crucial. There's still 70 laps to go, so they will have to make at least one more stop.
Right.
But while there's a yellow, you need to do everything you possibly can, because the next stop may have to be under green.
Yes. For the benefit of people who don't know this type of racing that well, there is a limit on the number of pit crew who are allowed beyond the wall to each car.
Yes, in this series, the same as in Champ Car, you're only allowed 6 guys over the wall. That equates to 1 man on each wheel and 2 guys to do the refueling. Now, just for instance, tomorrow if we all watch the Grand Prix, there will be about 155 people around Schumacher's Ferrari.
Yes.
Some of them will be working on the car and some of them won't, but the pit stop for them will be about 7.5 seconds, and these guys are doing a pit stop in about 8.5 seconds.
Terrific.
So
Super
it's
slick, aren't they?
Pretty incredible stuff.
Yeah. And the point I think Rob made earlier on, it is astonishing how few accidents or incidents there are when these guys leave. They really do leave. They go out pretty quick into that pit lane, and they all seem to pick their way around each other as they get back out on the track.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit like the Waitrose car park on a Friday afternoon, but they get up to only 50 miles an hour before they get to the line at the end of the pit lane. Then they can accelerate up, and they must be behind the blend line. They must follow whoever they are, so they can't side by side all the way round.
Okay, well, I understand that we can now hear from a man who's having a pretty expensive race. It's AJ Foyt.
How tough is this on this team, AJ?
Well, with Michigan next week is 3 cars, but they were all doing pretty good, you know. And one thing about the racetrack, you get out of the groove, your history, and that's It's racing, you know.
You talk about just being racing. 2 weeks ago in Kansas, it came up all roses for you.
Well, like I say, one day is chicken, next day is feathers. So we had feathers here, including with Anthony, you know. He got in trouble, and it's just one of them days. You can have good weekends, you can have bad. All you can do is smile and go get ready for the next one.
All right, well, real quick, let's get a quick comment from Eliseo Salazar, who's made it back, too. A.J. Foyt just looks at him and shakes his head. I don't know, was that a good look or a bad look?
I don't know. I'll have to ask him. I haven't been able to talk to him. But we were, running at the front, but then we had a bad pit stop, 27-second pit stop, and that put me, a couple of laps down. And then I guess, I changed my style, my driving style. I was being too nice, letting people on the inside because I wasn't fighting for the top positions. And I let somebody and unbody last year, and that put me on the outside, and I touched the marble, and it was a slight hit. I didn't hurt the car much, but unfortunate. But on the other hand, all in all, it was a good weekend. We were running competitive, and
it's great to have you back.
We are back.
Thank you.
So there we are, the verdict from Eliseo Salazar. We are now about to go racing once again as we approach the three-quarter race stage in the Firestone Indy 200. Once again, Larry Rice and Gary Lee.
I had a great week a couple of weeks ago. It's going to be a lousy weekend. You figure those crew guys are going to be overworked this next week because now they have 3 cars to repair before they go to Michigan.
Unbelievable. They are definitely going to have a lot of work to do. The pace car pulling down, so that's means next time around we will get the green flag. Eddie Cheever has now gone into the pit areas. He waited till the very last second. I don't think it's still going to be enough to make it to the end, but he tried a little bit of pit strategy there, and he stayed out till this last lap before he pulled into the pit area to get his pit stop.
And he had to go, 64 laps to the end. He might make that. That's really the only chance that he has at a victory here this evening.
Yeah, he's definitely not handling as well as some of the other guys, and it's the only way he has a chance. But his teammate, Thomas Scheckter, once again has put himself in a very good position running in third.
Well, Foyt is up to 4th on this restart. Giafoni at 5th, and Lazier is in the 6th position. All right, as Sam brings them off. We heard Sam complaining about that restart that apparently cost him that victory 2 weeks ago. A good restart there. Let's see what Scheckter has in mind for Castroneves.
Well, Scheckter got up there a little too close to Castroneves. He's not going to be able to make the pass. Dare had the absolute perfect restart the last time out and really pulled off 2 good passes because of a very, very smart restart that he did.
Billy Boat has put himself back in a position with 1 pit stop to go to make some noise toward the end.
Well, it's great to see Billy Boat back up there again running with the tall dogs. He's had a very disappointing year so far this year, but he's right now running as good as anybody on the racetrack.
Well, DeFerrin got his lap back, and he battles his way by Boisel.
Yeah, that's Boisel. He's a lap down.
He's a lap down.
So DeFerrin is trying to
position.
Yeah, he's trying to get back up there. He is one of the guys who made a pit stop that time by. That's Richie Hearn.
Hearn on the high side, not much room there. Wow. Hold your breath. I'm coming around the high side.
Well, you gotta be a little leery right there, because again, you're not sure whether that guy sees you out there. If he squeezes you into the wall, there's Dari.
Surprised with him going by. There's a miscommunication between me and my spotter, and then suddenly I was turning in and I saw him on my side, and it looks like he's still a little bit mad at me from last race because he didn't give me a lot of room. If you go side by side 2 cars, you're able to go side by side, but once he moved a little bit up, I put my tires on the marbles and just no grip at all, went to the wall.
Right, Paul.
So, did he move him up?
Well, he was not clear on the bottom of the racetrack. I can tell you that. He was let's say 6 feet off the bottom or 4 feet off the bottom. Whether that's where I don't know whether he intended to.
We'll never. That's conjecture, and we'll never find out the real situation there.
He definitely was not right on the bottom of the racetrack.
Well, Hornish, like he has something to prove. He's won 3 times already this season, going for his 4th win here. Castroneves leading the point standings.
Castroneves, Scheckter, and then Boat running 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Right there, it's their 2nd, 3rd in your screen. There's Boat.
Castroneves with 2 victories this season, and Scheckter still looking for his 1st win, and probably had 2 or 3 get away from him.
Yeah,
that time Lazier got very close to the wall coming off that corner.
Right. The two Penske cars of Castroneves and DeFerrin are the only two cars that have completed every race so far this year. A couple of times, at least once after a crash, they went back out, but they did complete the race.
Did DeFerrin finish that race at Nazareth when he ran out of fuel?
Well,
he had the lead. That's when Scott Sharp won that thing.
I might be.
I think Castroneves has gone. No, Castroneves has because he crashed at Richmond.
Oh, you may be
Castroneves crashed. He had completed every lap until then, but he crashed early in the Richmond race, the last night race we had. They all start to run together after a while. You start hopscotching across the country as we do, and all of a sudden you kind of lose track of who did what and where. There's that gap between second and third. Billy Boat back there in fourth position. Ray Dawn with some more problems. He's 48 laps behind. Dismore is out of the race. Mack is like 19 laps off the pace. And there's a look into the Pennzoil Panther Brain Trust. There's Kevin Blanche, the crew chief.
They're trying to figure out how much fuel they want to put in, whether they're not going to fill the car. Yeah, it's going to be a splash and go. They have to put in so many gallons to make sure that they can finish the race, and that's what they're discussing. Exactly how long they're going to stay in there, how many gallons of fuel they're going to put in order to make it to the end.
He's gone 36 laps since his last pit stop. He can't go to the finish. They have 52 laps to go. And so they're getting into their pit window, though. If they have a yellow, they can make that under yellow and have a dash to the finish. Sam Hornish looking for his fourth win of the year. As you ride through that 14-degree banking, you can see how narrow that groove really is there. We've seen those drivers get the right side tires up in the marble just out of the groove and go right to the fence. And there is second, third, and fourth. Is this going to be the first win of the year for that young man right there, Thomas Scheckter? Or will Billy Boat pick up a win?
Well, both of those two guys certainly would like to have a win. They deserve to win, especially Scheckter. Schecter's been in position to win at least 3 races this year and had bad luck, terribly bad luck in 2 of them.
Take a look at Scott Sharp there in the yellow and red number 8. Then it's Hearn. And then Boiselle. Boiselle soldiering around there in 10th position. But there are so many factors to play out in the last 50 laps of this race. When they make a pit stop, they can get a bad set of tires, muff a pit stop. A lot of things can happen. Just because you've got a good race car right now does not mean that car is going to be as good after the last pit stop.
Well, and that's why you have to race it to the very end, because you're right. Anything can happen right up to the last lap, the last corner.
Back to the front. Your lead now is 2.8 seconds as Hornish continues to set the pace here at Nashville. $152 laps now complete, 48 to go. As he comes down to complete another lap, we'll have a chance to visit with hard luck driver for sure, Mark Dismore, who had a great ride going, and brought her home with some engine problems.
Yeah, there he is.
So I want to thank John's Manville, John Menard, and Firestone. They gave us a great tire tonight. Yeah, it was a shame, and we had a great car tonight, Jack, and we just had something happen, and I'm not really sure what. The motor went flat, so I'm not sure if it was electronics or what it was exactly. But you know, I had a great car tonight, and Michigan's coming up in about 5 days. We had a good test there, so looking forward to going to Michigan and run all 400 miles and maybe have a great day.
Well, I'll tell you what, he has a lot of race fans that would love to see him have a great day. Had 1 victory and I think 3 pole positions during his IRL career, but always seeming to be on the short end of the luck stick.
Yes, and we're getting a report that Castroneves may have a right rear tire going down. They do have a pressure gauge inside the car that can tell them what the pressure is, or not a gauge, but you know, on their telemetry it tells them how much pressure is in the right rear tire. And the report on the radio is that he may have a problem with the right rear on the car.
Well, we saw what happened with Scheckter when a right rear starts to go down.
Yeah, and you can see Scheckter's backed off a little bit. I wonder if he can see some sort of a problem there. Billy Boats tried to get around Scheckter that time, and then he had to get out of the throttle.
I'll tell you what, if he's got a tire going down, he hasn't backed off of it any. Well, last lap 196 miles an hour, but then that was still 5 miles an hour under Sam Hornish.
They put that telemetry in there so the driver can tell if the right rear tire pressure starts going up, then you know that you've got too much weight on the right rear, so you can jack a little weight in the car. And that's why they have that in there. But it also tells you if you've got pressure going down, it could be a huge problem. If he's only lost 1 or 2 pounds, it's not a big problem. But if he loses 3 or 4, then he's got to be very, very concerned.
They're trying to get him in the pits. Apparently they're asking him to come in. And right now he is some 5 seconds behind Hornish. And when he comes in, that would put Scheckter in the 2nd position and Billy Boat up to 3rd.
Yeah, and you can see that he doesn't want to come in. Right there he's going to have to, though. Billy Boat and Scheckter both down on the very bottom of the racetrack, almost got caught up in that thing as they thought he was just moving down to the bottom of the racetrack to kind of lose them in the draft.
Well, he pulled off onto that pit lane. Did not come off the 4th corner. And gets that speed limit. He'll change tires, refuel, and this will set him up for the finish.
Yes, if this really won't hurt him if everybody has to change tires under the green. It won't hurt him all that much. So it may not be as big a disadvantage as it looks like it is right now. Uh-oh. That might be.
That's the problem.
Yeah, that was a problem.
What happened there?
The left rear tire didn't look. That's Tim Cindric right there. He's the team manager, and he's just telling him they had to put it back up. It looked like they had to put the wrench back on the left rear tire. So that could cost him dearly at the end of this race, just those 3 or 4 seconds that it took them to get that car back in the air and that left rear tire on securely.
And he just goes a lap down as Hornish just went around him.
Yeah, I think
he goes a lap down.
Well, that'll put him 2 laps down, actually. That's what really hurts. Otherwise, he would have only been 1 lap down, but it hadn't been for that miscue in the pit area.
Well, so Gaston is now 2 laps down, and he could get 1 back if the final pit stops are under green. He can get 1 lap down or 1 lap back, but not 2 of them.
The Penske pit crew does not make many mistakes. They put him out. They've gained him the lead more times than they've lost it for him. But in that case, it probably was going to make the difference between him having a chance to win this race and not when it comes to the checkered flag.
Hornish, Scheckter. That should be Cheever right there as he goes by Cheever. Cheever not having a very good night. He's led a couple of times, but only because he was out of the pit sequence and stayed on the racetrack when others made a pit stop. So Hornish continues to lead after 164 laps.
And welcome back. Now, while we've been away, there have been more dramatic happenings at the Firestone Indy 200 involving Thomas Scheckter. That is what has happened. That's the first sight we've seen of that incident, and I'm not quite sure what has gone on there in detail. Rob Murphy and Paul Cherry are watching the action with me here in the studio. Looks sadly as if Billy Boat, his race is run. So what do you think has happened there, Rob? It's tough to know from this distance.
I think it's just well, we can't say until we see it, but obviously they were both running right at the front. Scheckter, my guy, picked up, sorry, Boat, I should say, but Scheckter just can't seem to buy a break. He's been so quick. We don't know whose fault it might be, whether it was just a racing accident, but hopefully they're both okay. But that's going to, play right in the hands of Castro Neves.
Yeah. And Paul, this Scheckter guy, I mean, he has such a tough break at the moment, doesn't he, Paul? Because he keeps, as we said at the start of the show, promises so much, and he hasn't yet achieved it.
Well, we're in race 9, and he's only done 4 finishes, and I think his best place is 4th. He is an out-and-out racer, but he's got to learn his craft. He's done road racing since he was knee-high to a grasshopper under his father's tuition. And this oval racing, I'm afraid you have to learn a bit of respect.
You sure do. Thanks for that, boys. Well, as you can see, we've now got pictures coming live from Nashville. More debris on the track causing problems for the other drivers. Probably a puncture there on that particular car. As you can see, a lot of the cars diving into the pits. Let's now go back once again and rejoin our commentators in the States.
This will scramble the position somewhat. We'll see who comes back out. Probably Castro Nevitz. There's Harnish. Now watch this again. Watch this again. The two Red Bull cars are together on the racetrack.
Well,
that's Scheckter to the wall. Got high, and here's Boat. Boat gets high as well.
Wow, that's pretty odd that Billy Boat just, there was not.
Saw it happen in front of him, got out of the throttle, but yet he got up high. Let's watch again, Larry. Now here's a look at Sam Hornish. You'll see the yellow comes out.
Okay, everybody's out of the throttle.
And George Mack just drives into him.
Man, oh man, Hornish did a terrific job not to crash that car, but Mack just absolutely was not paying any attention at all.
All right, let's watch again. Now you can see the car move when it gets hit. The yellow will come on. The yellow's on. Now watch. Boom, he gets hit right there.
Look at that. He turned that thing
into it.
Full right to save it. What a terrific job of saving that car. He should have been in the fence right there.
I'll tell you what, he's not going to be best buddies with Mack when this race is over.
Now, that was certainly a tough break for him, and man, oh man, put him in a very bad situation. That body work is going to hurt him, and once again, we don't know whether that suspension is bent or not. He won't know until he gets back up to speed whether the handling has been affected. But
Scott Sharp did not stop that time, so he's out in front. Hearn rides in second. He did not stop. And Barron is third. He did not stop. So those three will have to stop because it's been, 49 laps since Sharp's last pit stop. And we're on lap 175, 25 laps to go.
DeFerrin is in front of Hornish. He beat Hornish out of the pits, so that one pit stop did not really hurt him all that bad. There's Cheever. It looks like Scheckter is trying to go around his teammate, Eddie Cheever, and he got out into the marbles.
Cheever gave him no room, did he?
Cheever gave him no room. Once again, he's just too high. See, Cheever's 8 feet off, 8 feet off of the bottom, and it looks like Boat tried to follow him to the outside when he got up there.
Boat was trying to get around the Laurent Redon number 34 car, and he went for a ride as well. There is Cheever. Now on the restart, he will be in 9th position.
Those are two absolutely separate accidents that happened to end up in the same spot, really, because Scheckter spun all on his own, and then Boat tried to go to the outside of Redon. He got up there in the same marbles, and both of them ended up in the fence in almost the same exact spot.
Well, it ain't over until it's over, and we got a long way to go, and a lot can happen in about 24 laps. Of course, they have to clear this racetrack off before we can go back to green and find out if there's a suspension problem in car number 4.
Well, DeFerrin now is in a very good position, even though he had to make that one pit stop much earlier than anybody else. We thought he might be in trouble. He's in a good position right now.
Well, Scott Sharp did not make the pit stop, and he will be in the lead on this restart. Now remember, he won earlier this season, was really given a race. He was in a position when the leaders crashed out there at Nazareth.
Yeah, and he's, I doubt if he can make it to the end, but for right now, if something should happen, they have to have another yellow very quickly, then he's going to be in very good shape.
Well, so with 176 laps complete, there is your running order under yellow here at Nashville. Scott Sharp, never really in the thick of it today, but on this restart out of pit sequence, will find himself up in front. But again, there's no way that he can make it to the end. He's gone 46 laps, and we have 24 laps to go. That would really be stretching it.
Yeah, and there's Richie Hearn, who also has put himself in a very good position. He has a chance, because of not making a pit stop, that he could win this race. What these guys really need, though, is another quick yellow. They need a yellow.
Remain under yellow here at Nashville. Nashville. You see the pace car.
Well, you're watching coverage of the Firestone Indy 200. Once again, just briefly, I'm afraid we've lost the commentary from our colleagues at Nashville, but we'll be back with the sound as soon as we can. You can hear the sound, of course, of the racing going on, or at least progress under the yellow, and thankfully we've still got the action from the track. But we are now approaching the final dramatic stages of this race. Let's return once again to full commentary from Larry Rice and Gary Lee.
People on television under extreme pressure, and he seems cool, calm, and collected when he does it.
You saw Renna, who had a good ride early to that miscue leaving the pits, and he is still 3 laps back in 12th position. Right now, only 9 cars on the lead lap. Cheever is now 9th as they pick up the throttle off the corner.
There goes Alex Barron. He got a good jump. Look at Harnish. He got a great jump back there, and he gets around to Barron on the initial restart.
That would put him in the lead.
Oh, we're going to get another
crash. No, he saved it.
Oh, look at this. 2 or 3 cars get up there. Giafone goes up there. Buddy Lazier goes up there. That's Tony Renna. 3 or 4 of them. There must have been liquid down there, because that's exactly the spot that those other 2 guys lost it and got up in the marble.
Well, let's see what happens when the field comes by. Well, Harnish going by Hearn. The 2nd position.
Oh, and he got out of the throttle. He pulled it back down. He did not stay out there all the way through the middle of the corner because he knew what was going to happen. Uh-oh, there was a piece of the bodywork just flew off of Harnish's car.
And the Farron goes back around. So this is the battle for the win possibly right here, because those other 2 guys will have to make a stop. Sharp, Barron, Hearn will have to stop.
We might see a yellow for that piece that flew off his car. I don't know where it went, or whether it's landed on the racetrack.
There it is. Right there it is. We will likely see a yellow. The spotter, somebody else is in the wall. We will see a yellow now.
And that's exactly the same place that we've seen all those other crashes down there between 1 and 2. And this is Buddy Lazier. The very last lap, he got up there and almost hit the wall. He comes back around the next lap around, and this time he doesn't save it. He gets into the wall.
So we're going to have, we're lap 182 right now. So to get this cleaned up, we might have about a 12-lap shootout. This is that yellow that these guys needed.
Yes, it's definitely helped Sharp, Barron, Hearn.
Well, we saw that debris on the racetrack. We thought there might be a yellow for that, and the yellow came out when Lazier hit the wall. Well.
Oh, he got caught on the outside of Giafone. Exactly the same thing that happened to Dari. Identical to what happened to Dari. He was on the outside in the middle of the corner. When Giafone got around him, he got up in the marbles, and he just absolutely cannot save it once it gets that high. This exact same thing that happened to Dari and to Salazar.
Well, you see the groove right there. You see that dark? That's the rubber on the concrete. You get above that, it's going to take you right to the fence.
Once your right side tires get from the black to the white is a no-no. You don't want to be there.
Well, we want to hear from Thomas Scheckter. We've heard from him all too many times after the accident. There's
Thomas got up high. I mean, I don't know if we just got up high, if there was something on the racetrack. It just took off. I mean, it was like I hit a patch of ice. It was we never had a chance.
Thomas Scheckter also been released from the hospital. Thomas, we overheard the radio communication. The frustration was so evident.
You know, once again, I speak to you when the race isn't finished. Disappointing for me, disappointing for the team. But, you know, I have to go look at the tape and see what happened. I was lapping Eddie. He was a lot slower, and he forced me to use the high line. And, you know, we just have to go look at it and see what happened. I'm disappointed and disappointed for the team, too.
Bob, Paul.
Interesting. They go over all the tapes. So this next week, Team Cheever will look at all the tapes of the pit stops, of the racing action, and debrief. It'll be interesting to see what Eddie has to say about not giving his teammate really an ample room to go on by.
Right here, you're going to see this piece fly off of Hornish's car. You can see it comes off going down the back straightaway. We saw it earlier, and it was that farrowing. See that piece right there in front of the right rear? That's gone on the left rear. It deflects the air off of the tire, makes it more aerodynamic. That piece is completely gone off of the left rear, and Sam Hornish is going to go in now and looks like make a pit stop. This will probably cost him any chance to make to win this race, but I think that probably the IRL is telling him to come in there. Oh no, I guess not. I thought he was going in. He just went down
they
there.
were just moved down low because of the yellow and the debris on the racetrack.
Welcome back to the closing stages of the Firestone Indy 200, coming to you from the Nashville Super Speedway. We're currently, as you can see, under yellow. You haven't missed anything while we've been away on that commercial break, but obviously the race itself getting to the very interesting stage. All sorts of permutations possible. It really does promise to be a terrific final dozen or so laps. Just over 12 laps of this circuit still to go. And I think what we ought to do now is, if we can, go back to our commentators at Nashville. That's Larry Rice and Gary Lee.
Aaron was back there, I think, in second position, but Scheckter would have to make one more pit stop. And then he hit the wall, the yellow came out, everybody came in, and that took Barron out of sequence.
Well, and you know, like I said, if they can actually stretch it that far, 56, 66, boy, it's going to be 70 laps. But
it's going to be closer for Sharp, because Sharp pitted 5 laps sooner than Barron. So Sharp and Hearn, who's now in third of the restart, 56 laps since their last pit stop, only 51 for Barron. So of those three, Barron would have the best shot to stretch it to the finish.
Absolutely. And the other question mark is, DeFerrin and Hornish back there, they don't have to conserve fuel. They can run it on full rich. They can run top speed. These guys are going to have to be somewhat conservative with their fuel to try to make it to the end.
And keep in mind, although the tires are a little bit more worn on the top three, the cars are lighter because they have less fuel.
Well, it's going to be...
that makes for a faster race car, but hey, let's throw theory out the door and just turn them loose, drop the green, let them go.
You want to win the race, so you're going to do whatever you think is necessary to win this race. These guys obviously think they can stretch the fuel, and even if they don't think they can, they're going to give it a chance because they know it's the only chance they have to win.
All right, here we come on the restart. Sam Hornish has always been very good on restarts, although he lost the race 2 weeks ago on the restart. Here we go.
See, he watched in front of him. He knew when the top guy took off, and that's when he got in the throttle. It looks like this lap car is going to...
Oh, that's going to create a crash. Oh, did he make it through there?
Man,
wow.
They both made it through.
Wow.
Look at Alex Barron, though. He is all over Scott Sharp, and he's going to go by him.
And he's got the lead. Alex Barron, who was co-rookie of the year at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway with Thomas Scheckter, had put himself in a position to win that race. He's in a position to win this race right now. And there goes Hornish around to Hearn.
The Barron has already gotten around Hearn. He's moved up to third. I think that Hornish thought his only chance to get around the Barron was to do it on that restart. So he went to the inside, tried to go 3 abreast, but still didn't manage to pull off the pass.
Well, Alex Barron, team's going to roll the dice, leading out there. Sharp is in second position. Third is DeFerrin.
Well, DeFerrin right now is gaining on Sharp ever so slowly. And then once he catches Sharp, it's going to give Hornish a chance to catch up both of those guys and try to get around Sharp and DeFerrin while they're in traffic, especially the fair.
8 laps to go. You're looking at second, third, and fourth. The fair was only 8 points behind his teammate Castronevitz in the point standings coming in, and Hornish was 19 behind Castronevitz, so he'll pick up some distance because Castronevitz a lap off the pace, running back in 9th position right now.
I think that body work on Hornish's car has hurt him. He's not as fast as he was before. He's not gobbling those guys up in front of him. So that body work being gone has certainly hurt his chances of winning this race.
I'll tell you what, that move by George Mack, by him not being observant, could eventually cost Hornish the championship. Just a couple of positions.
Doesn't take much. Every point is certainly important in this kind of racing.
Well, Alex Barron setting himself up for a win here. Oh, no, another spin. It's Jeff Ward. Now, this may not bring out the yellow. This may, unless he parks it.
Yep.
Oh, my.
Well,
Ward, he brings out another yellow. That's the 8th on lap 194.
And that's exactly what Alex Barron wanted to see. Alex Barron is saying, oh, thank you, Lord.
So now he can stretch it out.
Yeah, these guys are really happy. This is Larry Blair. He's the team owner. That's Alex Barron's car owner. That's exactly what they were hoping for, and that's exactly what they wanted to see. That's the reason they took the chance, and that's why you do a thing like that. Same as Castronevitz did win the Indianapolis.
Well, once again, sadly, we appear to have lost our commentators. Just briefly, let's get the thoughts of Paul Cherry. It does look as if Alex Barron might well be well poised to take this race.
Yes, he may have had to do a splash and dash, but at this moment, with another yellow, there's no need for him to come in. He's going to have enough fuel to run to the flag. It may even finish under yellow now.
Okay, thanks very much. I think we have now re-established contact once again. Let's cross back.
I have to say, but on behalf of the whole team for Rayovac Blair Racing, we're enormously excited. We think he can pull it off, no problem.
Even if it goes back to green?
Oh, yeah. He's had real strong restarts all night, so we're pretty confident of his ability to pull it into first place here.
Gary?
Well.
Bag of tricks.
We're going to find out in about 2 laps, Gary. I said go after him, so we'll see what happens on the restart.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, Tom Kelly tells his driver Scott Sharp to go for it. Alex Barron now 8th in the point standings.
1 lap to green. They're going to give them 1 lap to go, so they will go green on 198. They've completed 196. They will complete 197 this time around, so they will get the green on lap 198. Give them a 2-lap shootout to the finish.
Second time, second race this season that Barron has led. You heard his car owner say he's been strong on the restarts.
Well, I think it appears that he is strong on the restarts. I think he has enough fuel to go the distance without a doubt. So it's going to be his race to lose at this point. I don't think Scott Sharp is strong enough to win. So I think if DeFerrin or Hornish or both of them can get around, they may be able to challenge Alex Barron. But if they do not get around Scott Sharp on the restart, then this is...
That's a tall order, though, with 2 laps to go.
It certainly is. It's very difficult to pass on this racetrack. So everybody's going to be doing their utmost to get a terrific restart.
Scrubbing off the tires right now. These tires under yellow will pick up those marbles that we talked about, little bits of rubber. Trying to scrub those tires, get ready for the restart. Here we go. They'll take the green flag.
Everybody out there trying to outsmart the other guy. Let's see who does the best job.
2 laps to go. 2 laps to go. Look at this, almost contact. There was contact. There was contact between those guys racing for second position. DeFerrin goes by. Here comes Hornish to the inside, and there's almost contact there. The white flag will come out this time by.
Hornish had to back out because Scott Sharp cut him off. DeFerrin has 1 last shot to get around Alex Barron, but I believe Alex Barron, I think Blair was right, his car owner. I think he's strong enough to take home this victory.
The white flag out that time, the final lap. Alex Barron about to bring home the Rayovac car for his first win of his Indy Racing League career. DeFerrin rides in second.
Well, he certainly earned it. He did a terrific job. Great team strategy.
And he takes it. He takes it. Alex Barron has picked up the victory.
Well, look at this. This is a brand new team. These people just came to do this. This is the first year for them, and they have done an absolutely terrific job. That's a wonderful thing to see, as Alex Barron did a great job. The crew did a great job. Tom Gloy's involved in this. I mean, everybody on that team certainly deserves the victory. And
this was no fluke either. I mean, he qualified in the 5th starting position, was consistent all evening, put himself into position on, he got out of pit sequence, but it worked to his advantage. It's the same strategy they used earlier this season, and it almost worked in Indianapolis.
Right, and it did work for Castroneves. He went extra long. Let's talk to him here real quickly.
Well, obviously having some technical difficulties and hearing from Alex. Oh, this is too bad.
Quick, and,
there we are.
My hats off to Rayovac, Speedway Engines, everybody, EDS, everybody that's helped us out. It's been an awesome weekend.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Bob, in only his 11th start,
Oh,
Alex Barron.
my. So he takes the victory here, and the fireworks are, we saw fireworks on the racetrack all evening, and now we're seeing fireworks in the sky as Barron takes it over to Farron, Sharp, Harnish. As you take a look at the second 12 there, Buddy Lazier after that wreck finishing in 12th position. You should take a look at the rest of the rundown. Thomas Scheckter in 13th, Mark Dismore with engine problems in 18th, all unofficial results. And once again, Sarah Fisher, the first out with engine problems in car number 23, is the crew down there to receive your victor in victory lane.
A lot of crashes here tonight, but a very good race. These guys did a terrific job.
Well, as we said, we're going to be off to Michigan next week on Sunday with the Michigan 400 on that 2-mile high-backed racetrack in Brooklyn, Michigan. Then it's on to Sparta, Kentucky, then Madison, Illinois, Joliet, Illinois, and Fort Worth, Texas. So 5 more races to go, and the point standings still a scramble in the point standings. Championship is still up for grabs.
Well, it certainly is, and Castroneves lost his chance to be the champion when he had that trouble in the pit area earlier in the race.
Tonight's Nashville Indy 500, make that 200, has been a presentation of ESPN in association with the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. For more, log on to ESPN.com. So our congratulations to Blair Racing and Alex Barron on his victory here at Nashville. Join us next Sunday for live coverage of the Michigan 400. For Larry Rice, I'm Gary Lee. Thanks for joining us. So long from Nashville, Tennessee.
Welcome back. So it's a success then for Alex Barron out there in Nashville at the Super Speedway. He's won the Firestone Indy 200. Watching the action with me here in the studio in London have been Paul Cherry and Rob Murphy. Paul, your reaction to that victory?
Fantastic for Alex and the team. I know Blair Racing from last year in kart. They decided to change disciplines and move to the IRL with their driver Alex, and they've steadily got better and better every race. Sure, they were an out-of-sequence pit situation, and Alex, under normal circumstances, would have had to come in and make another pit stop, but the yellows just panned out right, and he was able to save fuel.
A relatively new name to some people, but in fact he's not that young, but he's a good driver.
Alex is a Toyota protege. He started out in Formula Atlantics. He was champion there. Then he moved to Dan Gurney's Eagle Champ Car team. And then he went to Blair Racing, and now he finds himself in a top ride in the IRL.
Yeah, and looking elsewhere in the field, apart from Alex, Rob, 1 or 2 hard luck stories, and there really were some, because it was a very eventful race.
Yeah, it was. It sure was. Scheckter again, Billy Boat was my pick, and they went out in what we thought was maybe an incident together, but they actually went out same place on the racetrack and in what seemed to be separate incidents. But star of that restart for me was DeFerrin. He did do a great move to, but Barron obviously had the best car underneath him, didn't he? But DeFerrin had a great move on Sharp and got some valuable points in the bag. That could, mean something in the championship later on in the year.
And somebody like Sam Hornish, who throughout drove a very aggressive race, in the end really no reward.
But again, more points on the board, and
Sure.
up against the Penske boys over the whole year, that's going to count for a lot too.
But it was overall a pretty tough, aggressive sort of race. I mean, there were parts of the track too, which obviously gave the drivers particular problems.
Yeah, I mean, turn 1 and 2, everybody that tried to go two abreast round there just came away the poorer for it. Poor old AJ's probably into $300,000 worth of no claims bonus to collect.
Your heart bleeds for him, doesn't it? I can tell.
Somewhat, yes. But yeah, I mean, that end of the track was definitely a hard place to make a move. Most people were trying it into 3. It looked fairly safe there. But as we were saying earlier, where there's no rubber, places like a skating rink.
Yeah, and overall, I guess we have to say, Rob, it was an entertaining race that looked good. I mean, this night racing, as we said earlier, great atmosphere, good crowd. They've been rewarded with a very good race.
Yeah, it was fantastic stuff. I mean, you could see in this race how much of a team effort it was. It wasn't just the guys behind the wheel. It was the stuff that happened in the pits. It was the nature of the track itself, and the stuff, as we were saying, going offline made it very, very tricky. Even if they did put a good move on somebody, they only had to be slightly out for them to be in the wall. Luckily we didn't have any incidents where it looked like anybody got hurt, but sure was action-packed. Yeah.
Okay, boys, still, for the moment, stay with me, because there's one or two things we can still discuss, but I can bring you up to date with some other results now, because earlier today at Nashville we had the second round of the new Infinity Pro Series, which is basically a junior version of the IRL. Now, 2 weeks ago in the inaugural race, victory went to AJ Foyt's grandson, AJ Foyt IV, but this time we had a landmark victory for Corey Witherell, who previously raced in the IRL. He's a full-blooded Navajo Indian. Former Indy 500 winner Ari Lyondike's son, Ari Jr., was second, ahead of Aaron Fike, with Foyt finishing 4th this time. The Hollywood actor and last year's IRL commentator Jason Priestley actually finished 6th today, having been placed 2nd in the inaugural race just 2 weeks ago. Now, also in America this weekend, the American Le Mans Series is racing for the first time ever, and that's on a new street circuit in the state capital of Washington, D.C. But the starting lineup has a very familiar look. On the front row of the grid, the two factory Audis of Frank Bieler and Emanuele Pirot, and Dindo Capello and co-driver Tom Christensen. Row 2 has the Magnussen and Brabham Paynos and the private champion Team Audi of Britain's Johnny Herbert and Stefan Johansson of Sweden. Row 3 has the leading Cadillac alongside the second Paynos. On row 4, the second Cadillac plus the Lola MG of father and son team John and Clint Field. And rounding out the top 10, Britain's James Weaver and young Chris Dyson in the RNS Ford, plus a second MG driven by Knight and Block. Just a quick point on those results, Paul. It's interesting to hear the American Le Mans Series racing on a street circuit in Washington. Fascinating stuff.
Yes, the ALMS have got a fairly aggressive marketing policy, and they're looking to take their racing to the people. Traditionally, they've been on circuits that have been out of towns. They were up Mid-Ohio and Road America. But like kart, they've decided to do street racing, and it's paying off big time. And certainly it's a big coup to arrive in Washington.
It sure is, isn't it? I can't quite imagine it, having not seen pictures, but I imagine Washington, if they got the circuit right, would look very good.
Yes, I understand that it uses a lot of private roads and part of a car park, and it's sort of a first draft of what they finally want to arrive at. But to be racing in Washington, I would think just the security implications would be a nightmare. Sure.
But overall, from the entertainment point of view, from the public appeal point of view, this is the way people want to go, because they love to see that sort of thing.
We have a situation like in Chicago. We've just had the kart race there that drew what was definitely a disappointing crowd of only 25,000 people. When you think the city's sort of 3.5 million people, you take the air and water show at Chicago, which runs on the shore side, they get 1.5 million people to that.
Yes.
The Taste of Chicago, which is in the same area, gets another 1 million people. People in the area will go to the nearest city and the towns to look at stuff. They don't like to travel outside the area. And I think that your hard and fast enthusiast will travel out to a circuit, but people who are just curious will come to the city.
I seem to remember in years gone by there was a Las Vegas Grand Prix, was there not, in Formula One, was basically in a car park, which wasn't terribly exciting. They could have made more of that.
I was there, and it was probably one of the worst events that I've ever been to. It made reasonable TV, but it was a shocking place to be.
Yeah.
That's definitely the wrong way to go about it. Look at the success stories. Long Beach has been going 25 years now. That's what people want. They want something in the heart of the city that's an event, not necessarily a race.
Okay, let's go back to the IRL now, and Rob, let's talk about Gilles de Ferran, because he didn't drive a bad race. He's actually leading the championship at the moment, and this is a guy who's been around, knows what it takes, and is a very competitive driver.
Yeah, he's very, very good indeed, and he's coming from the Champ Car Series into IRL, and it's fair to say that his heart is in road racing and doing street circuits, and he's making a transition, and a fantastic one, over to the oval stuff.
Yeah.
But the might and power of Penske behind him, and you know, Helio Castroneves and him, they've been kind of really so dominant, as we were talking about before, throwing a huge amount of money into the IRL Series this year. But yeah, I mean, he's just a fantastic driver.
And Castroneves in second place in the championship. I mean, he's another good competitor.
Yeah, I mean, this is just, you know, this is the dream team, these two guys. And Sam Hornish has been doing a great job to stay with him. It's probably, you know, those three so far this year that have been the, you know, very much the leading trio. But, you know, there's a long way to go in the championship. And, yeah, de Ferran is just, you know, fantastic class act. And
how do you assess them, Paul? Your views presumably the same as Rob?
Exactly as Rob says. I mean, you've got two enormously professional racing drivers, and I say professional twice because that's exactly how strong they are at it. Roger chose them because of the way they are. They look at every part of the racing and they follow that through. But you presumably can only do this when you've got a massive budget. Somebody like Penske, I mean, they pour in millions of dollars. Yes, I'd heard that. Marlboro are not short of the odd dollar, and I think they're putting a definite big effort into the thing. They've raised the level for the IRL. This year it's been Penske coming in doing massive chassis development and engine development. Next year we see Toyota and Honda come in, and believe you me, the prices will rise in that series somewhat. Yeah, but money doesn't always buy success. You've still got to have that sort of magic ingredient, haven't you? You've got to have a bit of luck and a bit of something else as well. As we've seen this evening, it doesn't matter how much money you throw at it. If you're in the right place at the right time, you're going to reap the rewards, and Alex Barron certainly did that today. Yeah, good for him. But what about the entertainment value of what we've seen tonight? There was a big crowd. As we said earlier, American marketing for motorsport in particular is very successful. But those people who've maybe not seen that sort of racing before, on the evidence of what they've seen today, will say, yes, I'll come back and have some more. I think anybody that sat in the bleachers there and ate their free hot dog and drank their Coca-Cola would definitely go home very happy. It was a good race. It had all the things that the American fans want to see. Plenty of action, few crashes, nobody got hurt, everybody smiled. Yeah, and Rob, from your perspective, when you look at this, I mean, do you assess the IRL as a success now?
Yeah, and very much so. It's growing all the time. And I think some people think it's just speedway racing. You know, there is no road courses, there is no street courses. There's a market for that, but Americans just love things that are average speeds of over 200 miles an hour, and they love this type of racing, and they're given, you know, that particular market what they want. And it's very much, a lot of this is based around the Indy 500, still by far the biggest race in the world as far as the Americans are concerned, and that's pretty much why Penske and Marlboro have gone into that. That's their kind of flagship event on which they hang everything else. So I love this high-speed stuff.
Good stuff. Just switching codes briefly, there is news, obviously you can bring us more news on this, but kart racing goes ahead at Rockingham later this autumn.
Yeah, which is fantastic, and I implore everybody out there to go and see that, because this is, you know, we're going to have a race just like this up in Corby at Rockingham, and the champ cars there last year were awesome, and they're not going to the German track, but they are going to Rockingham.
That's not going to happen, but Rockingham definitely is, and what you need is a dry weekend, yeah?
Yeah, they do, and I think they've planned that in, and I think they managed it last year. Fingers crossed they'll do it this year, and it'll be good stuff. It's a great track.
And Paul, you're an enthusiast of what you saw at Rockingham last time, and that's the way forward in this country.
Rockingham suffered last year because of the water problems that they had, but ultimately when it came to race day, we had a fantastic race. And I think the 45,000 people that went away will have at least told 3 people more, and this year I think it'll be a sellout.
Just fingers crossed for a fine forecast day, because that's really the key here.
We've had a rubbish year so far with the weather, so let's hope the summer arrives late and just covers us.
And of course it was Gilles de Ferran who won it last year.
Michigan International Super Speedway. Then in complete contrast, we'll be switching to the kart FedEx Series. That's for the Molson Indy Vancouver race, which takes place around the streets of the Canadian city. That's 9:30 Sunday, 28th of July on Sky Sports Extra. So in the meantime, it just remains for me to say thanks very much indeed to Rob and to Paul. Thank you, boys, for sticking with me. We've enjoyed it, haven't we? And we're looking forward to more of the same later in the season.
Yeah, great stuff.
Okay, boys, thank you very much indeed. There we are. Thank you for watching. We're going to leave you now with a quick resume of just how the Firestone Indy 200 was won and lost. From all of us here, for the moment, it's goodbye.